Hi there, it's Carl Irwin, the Common Magician, and I've got some time on my hands today, so I'm probably going to get up a few videos today. I'll be traveling later on in the week, so I won't be able to upload as much. So I'll try to get a little bit ahead with some of these tricks that I do, and we'll share a few of these with you. So one of the things that I really like to do, it not really in an impromptu, totally impromptu setting, but certainly whenever there's a natural kind of moment for me to do this, is to take a deck of cards and just among conversation, interaction with folks, I will shuffle the cards and then demonstrate quite openly that everything is in perfect order. So there are routines that are based on this presentation that really focus on the action of shuffling cards, these gambling type demonstrations where the performer will shuffle the cards very openly. They will draw attention to the fact that they are shuffling. They will use highly deceptive shuffles and then come to this outcome. I do a little bit of that as well. I use different shuffles than what I do here. But I'd like to just do this. This is a natural kind of moment, not where I've been asked to do anything, but this is kind of one of those things that can solicit interest. If you're shuffling cards and at a card game, particularly if you take the cards out of the box and they're in order. And if you find them that way, that's a really great natural moment to take advantage of. I also will, when noodling around with cards, I will call them into their groups. Into their suits, which is not a hard thing to do in a couple of spreads. And then I will organize them overhand shuffling into either a running order or a full deck order, usually just a running order. And I'm not too particular about which suits I put wherever they present in the deck, just to be quick and efficient, I'll do it. And that takes a little bit of time, 5-6 minutes to get that there, and a lot of action. But if no one's really paying that close attention, it's not too hard to get a deck back into a running order. And then I'm set up to do this sort of, off-the-cuff presentation where the cards are clearly being shuffled. They're clearly being mixed up. They're being cut in a number of different ways. And then at the end of that, just kind of as an apex to that moment, I will spread the cards out and draw attention to it. Usually you don't have to. They just look down and they see that, and it's a wonderful moment. So that is something I do with regularity. I like to do that little thing. You run a risk in doing this, though, and I'll talk a little bit longer about this than I have with some of the others, because there's a lot of, as with all these things, there's very stark and deeply ingrained opinions about this kind of presentation. You do run a risk in doing something like this because it kind of gives up everything. Obviously, if you can do that, people are going to watch a whole lot closer when you go to show them a trick. So I often like to just do one thing at a time. If I do this, it might be the only thing I do. If I go from here into something else, I'm going to do something that's very kind of self-working, that doesn't require sleights, because I don't want them watching me all that close. They're really going to be watching after they see that, on the assumption that they weren't watching that closely just a few moments before. So there's another side of this that people will gripe about, that the kinds of shuffles I'm using to do this are not the most deceptive. The reason why I would use those shuffles in this moment is because they're not the most deceptive. But make no mistake, they are perfectly deceptive, right? They are deceptive. The sound of an overhand shuffle and that visual, is doing it several times like that. The sound and the visual of a in the hands a riffle shuffle with that kind of waterfall cascade finish there at the end, that bridge finish. The visual of the tabled riffle shuffle, right, in a cut. The visual of the cuts, when they are done informally, are perfectly deceptive. And that's why I use those shuffles. They are deceptive, and they are very manageable. There is very low risk that I'm going to mix things up, that I'm going to make an error. It's bare bones flying the plane, takeoff and landing, no tricks really, that are going to raise the risk of failure. And given what I am doing and that it is informal, that's what I do. Now, obviously, there are more deceptive shuffles, but let's talk quickly about this. I just want to be clear on my philosophy, and I've mentioned this before, but I'll spend time on it here. Again, I'm not trying to be most deceptive. I'm trying to be deceptive, and once you are deceptive, there's no sense in being most deceptive. That's just the reality, right? I would encourage you not to look for what looks the best under high scrutiny. I would encourage you to evaluate what functions best in reality. That is where you should be looking. Now, if I was doing a different kind of demonstration where I needed to have a very close focus on what I'm doing, I would use a different kind of procedure, right? I would do more of a push through, pull out kind of shuffle so that I can have closer focus. Now, the risk goes up, of course, when you're doing those kinds of things, and you have to be patient with them. You have to be well practiced so that things don't stick together. And you have to practice your angles and make sure that they look clean enough. But to be quite honest with you, I think even, I don't know, for me, if I would be comfortable with all three of these shuffles that I was doing, telling a spectator that I need to shuffle the cards, or the cards should be shuffled, or making mention of shuffling and doing that. And I would be satisfied that they would be deceptive enough. I don't think there's really, anything about these kinds of shuffles that really require, I think, absolute misdirection. I think spectators can look at a zero like that. And I've talked at great length about doing a zero and how to do it in such a way that it can look passable. Now, I'm not talking about the magicians out there. I'm not trying to fool magicians. I'm never trying. I am not wasting my time doing that. It's a total waste of time. Unless I'm going to go attend a convention and I'm going to present some material or something, it's a waste of time for me in the real world environment to try to do material that would fool people that know kind of the classic handlings. It's just because nobody I'm working with is in that. They're not in that mind frame. But anyway, I am comfortable doing all of these, I think, even with some focus on them. But certainly if I had to do a shuffle where I said, everybody watch the shuffle, and see that the cards are being mixed together, I would have to do something different. I don't do that kind of material anyway, very much. I mean, it's not something I do. It's not my style. So, but anyway, that's my feeling on it. It's a nice impromptu demonstration of absolute card control that you can do. Again, it does ruin it a little bit because once you show something like that, then they know, well, you can shuffle the deck in a way. You can shuffle the cards in a way where they are never shuffled. So I really can't trust anything you're doing. Whatever you do, I'll just blame it on that. That it's kind of one of those quick and easy answers for everything. Well, you didn't shuffle the cards, right? That doesn't really explain the effect or the method, but that's something that a spectator can say whenever you do this kind of stuff. So, use it sparingly, use it in those moments that are offhand, use it alone. Don't go off and go do a bunch of things after that, unless you're doing a gambling demonstration of some sort and you've got some really high impact material to follow up with that. There's other great false shuffles that you can do that help, although they start to draw attention, I think. But you can do a variety of kind of table wash sort of shuffles where it looks like the cards are being all mixed up, and then in the end, whenever you bring them together, they're not, zipper kinds of shuffles, but situations where you always maintain kind of a track to follow so that you don't lose or create a break in the deck. Various kinds of ways to do that. All great to use in an impromptu setting when you have a full deck or running order that you can maintain. And of course, these are great for using stack deck work, which I'll talk about down the road here when I talk about some more of the things that I do. I do a little bit of stack deck stuff. I've got stack deck products, so I do some of that magic. Yeah, one of the things that I do, a full deck maintained impromptu-ish kind of presentation. So good luck with that. Happy magicking.